Hello, everyone. My name is Carrie, and I am interviewing EscobarPablo on August 24th, 2020, for the WiC Oral History Project. This interview is being conducted and recorded in a private Discord chat. The recording will be made available for anyone interested on the Black Dragons Discord in the Oral Histories channel. Thank you for joining me today, Pablo.
Thank you for having me, Carrie. I am truly honored to be a part of this.
Thank you. That's sweet of you. So the first question I ask everybody, how do you pronounce your in-game name, and why did you choose this name for yourself?
All right. So when I first started playing this game, I tried to do Pablo Escobar, but somebody had taken that name on one of the earliest kingdoms. So I had to run with Escobar Pablo. That's how I came to it. As far as how I chose the name, I've always had I'm not a bad boy, but I've always had an infatuation with, like drug cartel movies and FBI movies, DEA, stuff like that. And the Netflix show on Pablo Escobar had just come out. So I thought, what the hell? That'll be a cool name. It'd be interesting to use it. So I did.
Okay. So when did you start playing the game?
I believe it was May of 2019, early part of May is when I found an advertisement on YouTube for our game. And I think that was at the pinnacle of the last season of Game of Thrones. So I was like, whoa, I'll try this out. This looks cool. And so that's how I got here.
Okay. What about the ad caught your eye?
I think my memory's sketchy, but I think it was of Danny riding on a dragon torching a bunch of troops, which caught my eye. And I was like, all right, sweet. I like, battle games, war games. I've played a whole line of them for the last 10 or 15 years, like Ebony, things like that. So I was like, all right, well, I'll give this a shot. Maybe this will be pretty cool.
I gotcha. Okay, so you're not new to the war game aspect. This is pretty in line with you.
Yeah, I've played quite a few over the years. Like I said, I played Ebony for about 5 years. I mean, some people that are listening may know what that game was. Ebony Age 1 and Age 2. And the game's battle mechanics were pretty awesome, and I figured, well, I'd give this one a shot too, and tried to play this one as well.
I gotcha. So what was your first kingdom?
First kingdom was K18.
K18. Okay. And tell me about when you first started. What was it like for you?
Uh, well, like with any game that you play, when you first land on a map, you have absolutely no friggin' clue of what you're doing. Uh, I just started doing a bunch of clicks and trying to build stuff. Like I said, I had no idea what I was doing. Someone in the world chat had told me, "Well, you need to find an alliance." So I went in world chat and I think I asked for nudes and or something stupid. And
Is that where the nudes started?
yeah, exactly. I figured I'd try that to get somebody to pay attention because it was just being spammed. And so an alliance called Kraken, somebody that was inside it anyways, asked me to join. So I did. The only problem with them is that you would speak in the alliance chat and you'd just hear crickets. I mean, it was just dead from the echo. So, I was like, I got to get out of here. I'm not learning anything. And that's when I moved to Army of the Dead, which ended up being the top alliance on that server at the time. And that's where I started to actually learn about the game, different strategies, fighting, things of that nature.
Okay, so what happened after that?
Well, there was a Lord Aspercream that came by and destroyed my castle and zeroed my little T1 and T2 troops. After that happened, I got extremely upset. So that's when I pulled out my Visa card and I went to town.
Understood.
I haven't been, and I haven't been zeroed since.
You always remember the first person to zero you. Oh, wait a minute. That was you for me.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I went and found him. I spent a bunch of money and built my army and whatever other gear and all that. And then I went and found him on the map and I zeroed him like 5 times in the next week.
Ah, aspirations.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
different strokes for different folks.
No, no, I'm just thinking I'm never going to be able to do that to you. You were the first person to zero me.
I did. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
and you
right.
felt so bad afterwards.
Oh, that was an accident, though. I didn't
I
know it
know,
was
it was
you. The name
funny.
was different.
You didn't know it was me.
I still, to this day, feel shame for that. I am
No,
sorry for
don't,
that.
don't. It was funny and it taught me better about how to play the game. So I appreciate that in a very roundabout way.
Yes,
Um,
if I knew that was you, I would have never hit that castle.
it's all good. It's all good. Um, so what did you do next? So you were in that
Um,
alliance.
so I guess that's once I started spending money, then they were like, okay, so this guy's going to be a spender. He's going to be an important aspect of the alliance, et cetera, et cetera. So I started to get a more deeper understanding of fighting. I met Benny Boy, who was also in AOD at the time, and he was the one that kind of took me under his wing and like showed me, how I should be setting up my rallies, how I should be solo attacking different castles. Because at the time, I was just brute forcing my way through everything. I would just send massive amounts of troops and, who cares? Just destroy everything possible. Try to, 6, 7 waves at a time, taking out cat. It was just utter chaos.
Right.
But Benny kind of showed me like, how to do that more. You could still go banshee and destroy everything, but you have to be a little bit more technical with what you're doing. So yeah, he was the first person that I really latched onto the game, became my first friend, really in game, and that was great. But then also that's when you get higher up in the levels of alliance, that's when all the politics starts happening. You learn that this game is much more than just fighting. There's tons of politics involved, and different aspects are opened up to you, if you will.
That is true. What do you think was the most important thing Benny taught you?
Um, at the time, I know everybody understands now that bows are completely pointless in the game, but at that point in time, you could build an entire army of bows and have a small meat wall out in front, and just in your talent tree, you just bonus bows to max, so you're maximizing one troop type um, heavily,
Right.
and then no one that's defending at that time, because everyone's smaller than you, can even get through your meat wall. So we would lose very little troops while our bows would just chew through everything, and you literally just fought wars with bows. that,
Wow. I was
I know
wondering
that.
where Benny's bow interest came from. That makes more sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's how it was back then, because you got to remember, no one had the amount of talents you could put on your army at that point that you do now, nor all the troop skin buffs or anything else. It was just very base level at that point in the game. And if you maximized one troop type that was a range troop, as
Mm.
opposed to having to spend points on all four troop types, you could do a hell of a lot more damage. So that's why you would see us, port in the middle of a hive, me and Benny, and we'd just be the whole hive was a bonfire. There'd be 25 castles on fire within, 10 seconds. And that was usually me and Benny. So,
Oh, wow. I am glad I never experienced that. That would have been terrifying.
yeah, well, there's a lot of people that didn't like us at that point in time. That is true.
I understand. Well, everybody has their own game style, and
Well, we didn't really, the game was really new, and we didn't really know what we were doing, and we didn't know the people we were fighting. I mean, it was just like, this is a different alliance. They're centered around this castle. We want to go kick some ass. I mean, that's basically all it was, and it was fun. It wasn't to, hurt people's feelings or, crush them or anything like that. It was just us screwing around, having fun and laughing.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
So you meet up with Benny. What happens next?
All right. So at the time, AOD had a guy by the name of Night King. He wasn't a big spender, but he was the leader of the alliance, and he had built it into, the biggest and strongest alliance on K18. Um, the problem was is that this guy was kind of one of those shifty, shady dudes, and the alliance kind of revolted against him, and we put another guy in charge who happened to be the top player on the server at the time, who was also in our alliance. His name was Widowmaker. We made him leader, and then we took King's Landing, and he was king. And the entire server, uh, which was basically being destroyed on a daily basis by me, Widowmaker, and Benny, all joined together to fight against AOD. So you had like 20 different alliances that had all banded together to fight us. That at one point it got so bad that they actually formed one alliance and brought all the top players from all the different 20 alliances into one,
Oh, wow.
just to fight. Yeah. And, as history would be told, they got destroyed. I think they were called the Dragonlords, was the name. It's been so long ago, though, it's hard to remember.
Okay. Um, at what point did this start shifting into becoming cartel?
Okay. So after after we had formed or excuse me, after we had defeated Dragonlords, we had decided that it would be better for the kingdom if it was a little bit more team oriented. We were, I guess you could say, we were kind of tired of just bullying on everyone, and we were like, all right, well, we'll rebrand. So the leader of the alliance, as I mentioned before, Widowmaker, renamed the alliance the Red Wedding,
Okay.
and we had a grand council on Discord where all the alliances in the kingdom had leadership people that were all on the Discord, and all would have more say in what transpired on K18. Unfortunately, it didn't really work out. There was so much power that had been focused into TRW. And you also, let me rewind here a second. So after we defeated Dragonlords, a lot of them just said, screw it. If you can't beat them, we're going to join them. So not all, but a large portion of that group was like, well, screw it. We're just going to go and see if we can't get into TRW. So in any kingdom where you're trying to facilitate balance throughout, it's really hard to do because power collects, right?
Yes.
So when you have a bunch of strong accounts in one alliance, people naturally want to go to that alliance. So we had found that it wasn't really working. And at this point, Widowmaker had some stuff go on in his real life with his children and stuff, and he had to leave the game, so he quit. And the alliance decided that they wanted me as their leader. I kind of just fell into the spot. I didn't want it. I was busy outside of the game, so I didn't think I would have the time for it. But I also didn't want the alliance to break apart because I had so many really good friends inside. I said, all right, well, I'll give it a shot and we'll try it. So moving back to, a few steps forward, we had a Grand Council 2 put together. I was now the leader of TRW, and I was trying to facilitate the changes to make it a vibrant kingdom, as opposed to a kingdom with one giant power source that's dominating the entire server. So we tried a bunch of different things. I don't, for the sake of time here, I don't want to go through them all, but we tried to make it better for everyone. Unfortunately, there was a lot of members inside TRW that didn't want to go with that new outlook or vision for the kingdom, and we started fighting amongst each other. And so I had had enough of that crap, and I just said, you know what, I'm leaving. I'm going to go, and I actually went into world chat with just myself and little Pablo, my alt. I said, I'm starting a new alliance. If anyone wants to join, you're more than welcome. It's called Cartel. And that's how it started.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
What was the response?
so I sat there for like 2 days, with just me and myself, and then gradually a few people came over, and then there was five, and then there was 10. Before you know it, there was 30. And when I got to that point where I had about 30 people in my alliance, I had some big accounts. I had mostly smaller accounts though. But I was able to bring some of my closest friends from TRW, and that would have never, the cartel would have never worked if I would have never had those people come over, to help me, former officers over there. So we became cartel, and our whole outlook on what we were going to do was to, not hold King's Landing. We were just going to make sure that we protected the kingdom in all facets and make sure it would thrive. And we would do whatever was necessary with the power we had to try and keep balance throughout. And that was kind of the general outlook, moving forward.
Okay. So you were basically managing the kingdom at that point, and
From, you could say, from behind the scenes, I was no longer king.
right.
I didn't want him. I mean, to be honest with you, I was working 60 hours a week, and I would come home from work and I would actually get anxiety about opening my laptop, because you'd open your laptop, you'd have 60 in-game messages, you'd have
Oh,
100 Discord pings. Like, I just couldn't do it anymore. It's just absolutely nuts. So,
no, that can be intense.
yeah.
So you're on K18. The kingdom's relatively stable at this point, and then
Yeah.
Red shows up.
Yeah. So what happened with Red was, it had been a couple months where Cartel was kind of the, I guess you could say, the guardian angels of the server. We allowed TRW to keep King's Landing, and then we kind of just facilitated and bargained and made deals with the rest of the alliances on the server, to give everyone a piece of the pie, if you will. But again, TRW went back to its old ways of, doing bad things and being kind of jerks. So eventually, I had to threaten them, and then they stepped down, and we actually put Cribs in charge, of the kingdom, and then we had the council still. So, um, we had some new alliances that had moved in from other kingdoms who were trying to find their way, a couple bigs and a couple little guys. But, Kingdom 18 at that point was the largest kingdom in the game. It
Okay.
was the most balanced. It was the most dominant point wise in K versus K. Um, at that point in the game, there was really just K versus K. There was not all these other events. There was no Alliance Conquest. There was no AOTD. So, like, K versus K was the big nugget. So we had built the kingdom to win that event every time and crush our opponents, which was successful. I mean, we did. We killed everybody and beat them badly. Um, but as all things are, and all good things must come to an end, Red decided that they were going to invade our kingdom. And the issue we had is that none of our accounts were maxed accounts. I believe at that point still I was bigger than Napoleon. I think I'm not 100% on that,
Okay.
but I was not a maxed account, and I could fight them, individually, and win, which I did, on a consistent basis. But I couldn't hold the castles from them because I didn't have the 25% commanders. So what I had to do was I went to the council and I said, look, the only way we're going to be able to defeat these guys is if we all band together and do what this was all designed to do, or we can all just get beaten down and run to a different kingdom. And the council has just proved to be a little cowardly, and kind of tried to appeal to Red as opposed to fight them. And so, as they say, the rest is history.
So, what ended up happening with Cartel at that point?
So what was happening is Red was picking off our middle-sized players and our smaller players to the point where they couldn't do anything but sit in a bubble all day and farm. So the decision was made to leave the server since we couldn't find assistance from the other big alliances. I will say for the record, there were some monster accounts on our server that had moved who were in favor of assisting us, but their alliance leaderships were not. So it kind of, yeah, we were unable to get the support that I needed to launch an effective war against Red. So we just decided that it was time to leave the server, and we ended up going to K19. And I believe K18 lasted for about 4 weeks after that, and then it completely collapsed.
Okay. So you're now on K19. I remember the introduction to the nudes. That was fun. You shocked me with that, man.
With everybody, when I ask people for nudes, it is simply to make people laugh and to be funny. It is not. I am not some old creepy ass man trying to.
No, it was definitely
from
something.
All these girls on the internet. No, that's not what I'm.
No, it was something new to the culture of K19 that definitely was like, okay then, and it definitely stuck.
Yeah, I mean, I never get nudes, but I like to ask for them just because it disarms people and makes them a little less defensive, and walls break down and things like that. It's just, that's all it's for.
So you end up on K19. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so we ended up on K19. There was a duo of Cloud and oh God, I can't remember her name now.
Liz.
What was her name? Yeah, Liz. That's right. Sorry, getting old.
It's okay.
They were the ruling family. They had a couple. I think it was like 3 different alliances that were all kind of in the same family that ruled. We had been looking at a bunch of different kingdoms, but we actually did speak and did formal interviews with 3 kingdoms. And it ended up being K19 that we thought would be the best fit.
What other kingdoms?
At the time, I think it was K25 was another option. And I don't remember the last one. It was so long ago. I think it was September of last year. But either way, the best option for us for what we wanted to do as an alliance, and also kind of try to continue the history of what we had on K18 before it was destroyed. We wanted to try to do that again. And so we figured K19 based on the interviews that we had done and the conversations that had occurred between the leaders, that this was the best option for us.
Okay. So, what was it like on K19 for you?
It was a little odd at first because you're so used to being like in charge of things, that when you get to a new kingdom where you're not in charge and you don't have a say in certain things of what are going on or what's transpiring, it's a little weird. I'm not going to say it's a bad feeling, but it's just odd. And it takes some time to get used to that. But overall, I think the first couple months that we were there, I think it went pretty well. I mean, everyone got along for the most part. We won our K versus Ks. If we did get small invasions from merit hunters or whatever, I mean, they were just squashed almost immediately. So I think it was very effective, and it was fun. I met a lot of really interesting and funny people on K19 too that I'm still friends with today, including yourself.
Thank you.
Um, that so yeah, it was definitely worth it. It was a good time. Until it all fell apart too, but you know that's the way we feel it.
Well, let's move on to that then. Till it all fell apart, without getting into too much of the
Yeah,
drama
yeah,
involved, because we don't want to start getting into that as
yeah.
much. What shifted for you? Because I know you ended up leaving the
Well,
kingdom and leaving
I
Cartel.
don't, I don't think anything shifted for us. I think we were the same from the start to finish on that kingdom.
Okay.
We never changed. I don't believe so, anyways. But you know, sometimes people, I don't know. I don't want to go down that road. Let's just say that there was miscommunication, and the ruling family decided that they were going to leave the server. So
Okay.
what Cartel did at that point was they said, "Well, we don't want anybody to be left out in the wilderness with no home, no place to call home, and no alliance." And we'd be willing to train them militarily and help them with building their accounts, et cetera, et cetera. So we offered, we told everyone that, you know, if you stayed, nothing would change. And if you needed a new home, we would create new secondary alliances to cartel, or if you cannot fit into cartel's requirements, just to make sure that like everybody would be able to still stay in the kingdom, wouldn't have to leave, and could also maybe get some knowledge on the game that maybe they weren't learning with the previous alliances that they had been
Okay. So around that time, you ended up leaving Cartel, right?
in. Yeah, so it was a little bit after that. Yeah, the what I kind of foresaw happening just from watching other kingdoms was is that you know if your alliance is only based on P versus E, which means like K versus K, alliance conquest, and P versus E, for those that don't know, means player versus everyone. When you're oriented only strictly for that, like if you are invaded by a military alliance, you are not going to be able to defeat them.
Yes.
Um, so, like, what I mean by that is, you know, like I'm in BCL now, right? This is a 100% a military, well-oiled alliance, well-oiled machine. Excuse me. They have massive maxed accounts at top or second tier whale accounts at top, and then they have a bunch of zero accounts. So
Mm.
what does that mean? It means a bunch of players that can move all their troops out of their castles. So if they are rallied, no damage can be done to them except for their walls, and who cares? Um, so you have to have those. You have to have that setup to be able to fight a giant military invading force. Problem that I foresaw in Cartel was is you know we had been sitting on K19 for a long time and we hadn't really been fighting anybody, and we you know your crispness, your ability to fight kind of starts to go away. You're so
Right.
used to just farming or sending out solo attacks, like all the fighting that we had done on K18 with the Matthew Salas, if you will, of our alliance. A lot of that had dissipated, and you know there's in any family, and I love Cartel. I will always love them. They were my baby. Those were my original friends. I will never raise a sword against them. But the thing was is in any family you're going to have disagreements about the future and the way things are going to go. And I wanted to be a part of a military alliance and one that was ready to fight at any point on the drop of a dime to protect what we had built. And I didn't think we could do that still under the new, I don't know, the new vision that they had of just simply server building and P versus E events.
Okay.
So there's nothing wrong with a lot of people poo-poo at this commentary, but there's nothing wrong with playing however you want to play the game. But at that point and at stage, I had built two kingdoms, or basically was hands-on and ruling two kingdoms, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I wanted to go off and start fighting. I wanted to, actually utilize all this money that I had spent on this account, and do something with it instead of sitting around listening to people arguing about gold nodes all day. That was just a personal preference. That's all it is.
Yeah. No, I don't believe that you had any animosity with the leaving. It's a change in just enjoyment.
Yeah,
What you want to focus on.
More of an adventure. It was time. It was time for a change. It was time to go elsewhere. So, I'm very, very close with Rum Runner and Nixie, and so they were never inside cartel. But as you know, you build friendships with people outside your alliance, and they had invited me to join them in the great war that was going to happen on K33, which is where ATD and BTS, BCL, and Nordum at the time, which was another big alliance, had all kind of convalesced together on that server. So I was like, you know what, I want to go, I want to fight. And so I did. I left.
Okay. And what has been your experience since? What happened? So
Well,
you were with TNR.
Yeah, I mean, K31 was a blast. The only problem is that when you land on these servers, like the natives get terrified. You may not even attack them. Like you may not even hit any of them, but they're like gone in a day or two.
Right.
But either way, 31 was a blast because we had a big war with the alliances that were there. It was us and I was in Nordum at the time. With Rum and Nixie, and we took on BTS and ATDs that had joined BTS part-time for that fight with BCL on our side, and we stomped them there. And then after BTS and a couple of the alliances had asked for peace, and the war ended, it just got boring. It's just more of the same old sitting around farming, and people start fighting with each other because they're just bored. So we decided it was time for a change, and we went and looked at a bunch of different alliances. I actually had considered at that point creating a new alliance.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. Just for something new. I mean, we got to find ways to have fun with this game sometimes because there's huge periods of just boredom. So
yep.
Yeah. So we flirted with the idea of creating a new alliance, calling it the Zoo. Yeah, we were going to call it the Zoo and have a bunch of farm animals as our avatars. It's been pretty funny.
Love it.
But yeah, so we ended up, long story short, we ended up deciding to go to TNR, which was on K31. And Millers and Baby, and Millers is a tremendous fighter. He was awesome to play with as well. And I learned some things from him when I was over there. But TNR was a great alliance. I was with them for months until the war kind of had taken its toll on everyone on K31. I like to it's funny because K33 was like World War One. K31 ended up being World War Two.
Okay.
Like we had BTS, ATD, BCL, TNR all there at once, and all just going ham on each other 24/7. I mean, you couldn't leave a bubble. You couldn't be outside a bubble for a minute without being rallied.
Wow.
That's how crazy it was there. So, I spent some time with those guys there, and it was a great experience. I love those guys too. I still talk to them on a daily basis.
When did
Yeah.
you end up moving on to BCL?
So TNR's, there's a bunch of players inside TNR who were kind of tired of just sitting in a bubble 24 hours a day and not being able to do any type of solo fighting. So naturally, TNR was a much smaller alliance than BCL, than BTS or ATD. And before BCL had even arrived on K31, TNR was fighting ATD and Terra X's along Fulgor's alliance. I forget the name of them at the time, ATW or something like that. So it was just little ass TNR fighting ATD and ATW, and we actually won. I mean, we won that war.
Nice.
Just over time, you get so tired of it, and people just want to rebuild and just go relax and have fun. So TNR decided as a group they were going to leave the server, and they've gone on to greener pastures. Unfortunately for me, as big as my account is, it's not easy to move around.
Yes.
So I messaged Kaina and I said, Kaina, would it be cool if I came over to BCL for the time being? And she accepted. So I've been there since, and it's they're a great group. They really are. They're a tremendous group. They have amazing leadership, and they have, I think, two of the best rally leads in the entire game, if not the best.
Who?
Polarix and Sebastian are both great rally leads. They have, most of these guys have extensive fighting experience. Right. So I don't want to, start naming individual. It's not really fair. I mean, all of these guys are awesome, but those two are, I think, pretty much well known throughout the game as two of the best. And I would agree with that.
This is not a singling out like these people are better than anybody else type thing. It's these kinds of questions are more along the lines of who impresses you for something that you're interested in. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, like, the old Burgle before Burgle quit was unbelievable.
Yes.
And now the new Burgle, I don't know if he would want me to say his name, so I'm not going to do it, but Polarix, there's all kinds of guys that even, I hate Red. They're my mortal enemies to the end.
Okay.
But they had a fighter over there by the name of Kmet, and I give credit where credit is due. He was a tremendous fighter. He was a tremendous rally lead, and I give him full credit for it too. I learned things from him, even though I hated him. Yeah, there's a bunch. Calvin was a great fighter too.
Yes.
In his heyday. Yeah, there's tons of guys. I just, whoever I'm missing, I apologize, but I don't want to keep blabbering. Sorry, Carrie.
No. Pabs loves you all.
I do.
Okay, so you're in BCL now, and you're enjoying the setting now where you are and the military aspect as you were talking about before.
Well, BTS ran away. So we're just sitting here now all by ourselves.
Well, they went to K19.
Yeah, they went to K19.
Yeah, everybody ends up at K19 at some point.
I'm not going to say. Anyways, yeah, so we're kind of just twiddling our thumbs now here, trying to figure it out. But, it's difficult for us because when you have so many big accounts, it costs a lot of money, and especially for like Lady Kaina. I mean, every time she moves somewhere, it's $2,000.
That's insane.
So, yeah, we don't want to move. First of all, one of the reasons why I respect BCL so much and Kaina is because through this whole time that we've known each other, we're over a year, I mean, probably 14, 15 months, they've never been one to go invade a kingdom to destroy it. Right? Whoever wants to brawl with them, they brawl with, and they end it.
Right.
But they don't go around destroying people. They're not aggressively, they're just not aggressive towards your average player, right? They don't do that. And I got mad respect for that. So, it's leading to what I was trying to say is like it's very difficult. They have to be you have to use a lot of logic, and you have to survey the maps of all the kingdoms to decide where you're going to move next, because you don't want to destroy a kingdom just by land, not even attacking anyone. If we land on a map, half the server runs without even knowing whether we're there to hurt them or not. So we kind of have to pick and choose and be smart about what we do next. And that's kind of what's being discussed right now.
Understood.
Yeah.
So, for you, what would you say is the favorite part of the game for you?
Oh,
Now,
favorite
not
part of the
originally.
game.
Now, like, what is the favorite part for you now?
I think the thing that's kept me in this game this long and continuing to still spend money like I do on it is the people.
Okay.
So, like, I mean, that's a pretty generic answer, but let me explain why. So, you know, we all, in real life, we all have our problems, right? We have good things, we have bad things happen to us, we have stress, we have worries
Yes.
about the future, all those things, right? This game is a fantasy, right? It's a place where you can kind of go and just let loose and have fun, and take your mind off of all the stuff that's going on in the outside world. It just gives you a break from it for a little bit. And I know that if it was just the game itself, I wouldn't even be here talking to you right now. I probably would have quit this game a year ago. Um, the bond and the connection that you build with all the people that you meet on Discord in this game. Um, you spent, I can't tell you how many countless nights I spent in voice with cartel people, BCL people, with TNR people. And they may be digital, right? You can't touch them. You can't, share a beer with them, but there's still a connection, and you are friends, even if it's digital. And you build bonds and you build relationships, and it's almost just like real life with people that you call your friends. So if that wasn't available to me, I would have been gone a long time ago. So I would say that that is my most favorite point of this game, or the game has brought to me,
Okay.
if you will.
What would be your least favorite then?
Oh, um, you know, since probably the first couple months after I started playing this game, I've been filling out these stupid surveys that they keep asking us to fill out. And I take my time. I write long soliloquies. I actually put effort into helping these developers try to keep the life of this game, or extend the life of this game uh, long into the future. But it's just not taken. So I think I'm done writing these surveys. I've tried to talk to these developers. I've tried to tell them different ways and how to get other players to engage, how to bring more people to the game, how to keep the life and the zest to keep logging in. You have to keep those people engaged, and they're
Right.
not doing that. But that's my least part of the or least favorite part. So.
Okay. Okay. Um, so, what do you believe is the key to a successful alliance?
The key to a successful alliance would be to make sure that you are engaging all your members. Sometimes it's difficult because of the communication barriers that exist. I mean, not everyone speaks the same language. So it's hard for certain players in certain parts of the world to always be able to know what's going on. So you just have to make sure that you're, kind of, sometimes you have to make the necessary steps, do a little extra work to make sure that everybody is on the same page. I think listening to the concerns of your members goes a long way. Because as we both know, the alliances in this game, the mobs are fickle, I mean, they can break apart. One day it could all be the Brady Bunch, and the next day the thing's been destroyed.
Yeah.
So like, you just have to always keep your ear to the floor on what's going on with your mates, and make sure that everybody's relatively happy. I mean, you can't please everyone all the time. We all know that. But you have to try your best, make sure that everybody's kind of, just content and happy, and are still, when the first thing they do when they get home is, they're looking forward to, logging in and doing work on their account and saying hello to everybody. You want to make sure that that's always something that people want to do. If you're not doing that, you're bound for disaster, in my opinion.
Okay. Do you have a proudest moment in the game?
My proudest moment.
Like when I just asked you that question, what immediately popped in your head?
When I zeroed Alfred.
Okay. We're not going to get into the details as to
that.
why that is, because I know why. But
all right. Well, my proudest. Let's do this. Do this. It's my proudest and my most sad moment.
Okay.
When I went to the council on K18 and I tried to motivate them. I wrote speeches, long soliloquies, trying to get people to go to war against Red. And after that was over, it was kind of like crickets in the hall from the leaderships. But I looked into my in-game mail. I had about 30 in-game mails, I don't know, 20, 25 Discord messages from just regular fighters throughout the kingdom. Like, all just saying, dude, Pablo, I'm with you, bro. Let's go get these bastards. We'll come. We'll do whatever we can do, but we just can't say it publicly because our leaderships won't. Well, we don't want to be ostracized because of it.
Right.
So that was my proudest moment. I mean, I actually, I'm a big, burly, tough dude in real life, but like, I had my eyes watered up a little bit, because you spend so much time in these games with these people that you have so much invested, right? Whether you realize it or not. And that's why people throw fits and go crazy also.
Yeah.
Because there's so much time and emotion and camaraderie and all that stuff that it's just all comes together. And when something bad happens, sometimes you can overreact. When something good happens, maybe you get a couple of tears in your eyes. Yeah, it was the proudest and my most sad moment, because the leaderships of those alliances refused. After all the things that we had said we would do and all the work that was put in, they all kind of just put their head between their legs and ran away. And that was the saddest moment.
Okay.
So both are etched on my psyche forever.
Understood. So I'm going to ask one more question.
Sure.
What is the one thing you want people to remember most about you?
That no matter what, I always kept my word. Whatever I said I was going to do, I did it.
Okay.
I never lied to anybody. I never backstabbed anybody. And I've always tried to help people, like teaching, or if they needed assistance with whatever, as long as it was for a good purpose. I always tried to help people. If I'm remembered for that, then I did my job.
Nice. Anything else you want to include?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me. I really wanted to do this, so when you actually messaged me, I was super stoked about it.
Oh, good.
You did. I only saw one of the ones you did. I think you did it with Napoleon, but that was really good. Like I was just like super stoked to do it. So
my goal is to release one a week, and the next one that's going to get released is this week with Kynaston.
Oh, that's awesome! I can't wait to hear that one.
Oh, she's a blast. I had a lot of fun interviewing her.
She is really funny, and she's super sweet too.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. So I just wanted to make sure I respected your privacy and your space. I didn't want to disrupt your, I wouldn't say retirement, but your less in the spotlight time now. So
Yeah,
I was
we'll
glad that
see.
you said yes. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we never know what will happen in the future.
Yeah.
And anyways, thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here, and I really, really, like I told you before we started this, of all the things that I've seen in Chronicles and the videos that have been done for this game to promote it, this by far, at least in my humble opinion, is the best I've seen yet. And I really commend you, and I can't wait to see all the videos that you've done.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. You have a great day,
Yep.
Pabs.
You too, Carrie.
All
Don't be
right.
a stranger.
Not happening.
All right.
All right, bye.
All right.